Hello, my name is Håkan Leifman and I'm a member of the Planet Use team. And the subject of my presentation today is prevention capacity, or more specifically the Prevention Capacity Assessment Tool, the PCA tool, developed by Planet Use and now an integrated assessment tool within the Icelandic prevention model. The presentation will take approximately 20 minutes and start with a short background, and then focus on the PCA, why it is important and what it is, the content of the PCA, and then continue with a description and presentation of the PCA data collection procedure, and then finally a few words about the output, what the municipalities gets in terms of results, presentations and reports. Today, the local level is recognized as an important arena for alcohol, tobacco and drug prevention. This was not the case maybe for 25, 30 years ago, but today it is. But we also know that everything doesn't work. And if you are working on the local level, you really need to understand what is going on in municipalities, in communities, both in terms of local prevention structures, the organization of prevention work, but also in terms of the current ongoing activities. If you had a good knowledge of structures and current activities, you can also have a good assessment of the capacity and therefore of the effectiveness of the current local prevention work. This specific knowledge or the unique capacity profile for each and every municipality could very much contribute to more successful implementation of long-term sustainable prevention activities and models. And for us, this knowledge is very important in our assessments and in our recommendations for each and every participating municipality. Policy research, alcohol, tobacco and drug prevention research, and our very long experience in the local prevention field guides us in our assessments in the recommendations given. An important question to start with is, of course, does it matter, the capacity, the structure? Couldn't we start directly with projects? Do we need to make this kind of assessment of the capacity, the structure? Well, the short question is yes, the capacity, the structure does matter a lot. Policy, mobilization, resource allocation, program formulation is very often stressed in the literature as important basic conditions for an effective, sustainable promotion and prevention work. It actually makes sense to do some digging. This picture of the black box really is something that we have witnessed quite often, that we don't know really what is ongoing on the local level. We want this black box to be gray or even white. If this will be the case, then we have a better understanding of the local prevention work. We could identify gaps. It could help us together with the local level and how to prioritize and also to improve the steering of the local prevention work. So the PCA is now an integrated tool in the Icelandic prevention model. It's done at baseline and at follow-up. And the reason for the PCA is, as we just said, that hopefully it contributes to improvements of the local prevention capacity, the structures and activities, and thereby it will facilitate the implementation of the Icelandic prevention model. But in order to give a comprehensive picture of the capacity on the local level, the PCA has to measure several different dimensions, several different important dimensions of alcohol, tobacco and drug prevention. But mainly these dimensions broadly consists of prevention structures, prevention activities on the supply side and the demand side, and readiness, or the level of preparedness, the readiness for change, basically. So the PCA covers two main areas, prevention and readiness. And these two areas really complement each other. Prevention, or the prevention index or indexes, measures the position of a municipality. For instance, if they are scoring on a rather low level, or in the middle, or rather high compared to others, and also shows where to improve and in what areas. The readiness or readiness indexes give guidance of how to improve, with suggestions of actions depending on the level of readiness, basically in order to increase the level of readiness. We know from our experience that municipalities are on different levels of prevention and readiness, and that they therefore need different actions. They need different guidance. This is really what the PCA is about, to give specific advice for each and every municipality participating in the prevention capacity assessment. This picture shows the building and the components of the prevention index. On the highest level, we have the prevention index, the overall score. And this overall prevention index level consists of two main index categories: the prevention structure and the prevention activities. And the mean value of the prevention structure scores and the prevention activity scores is the score of the prevention index of the overall score. The prevention structure and the prevention activities are also made up of sub-indexes. For the prevention structure, you have three sub-indexes: policy work or policy index, cooperation index, and resource index. And the prevention activities are made up of two sub-indexes, namely demand reduction and supply reduction. Each of these indexes on the different levels have scores from 0, which means that they have nothing. It is the lowest possible score, and 100, which is the highest possible score. So if you have 100 point, you have the highest possible prevention level. This picture shows the building and components of the overall readiness index. As for the prevention, you have an overall level, the readiness index, the overall score, again from 0 points up to 100, but here also divided into 5 different levels, with the first level having the lowest readiness and the 5th level the highest readiness levels. This overall readiness index consists of 5 subcategories, or 5 dimensions, 5 sub-indexes. One is efforts and actions that is taking place in a municipality. The other is the knowledge of alcohol, tobacco, and drug prevention, the general knowledge and the specific knowledge for the municipality. The third dimension is the leadership, the awareness of leaders concerning prevention. And the fourth is measuring the culture and climate of prevention in a municipality. And the 5th level measures the resources that are used in the municipality. The mean value of each of these 5 dimensions is the score of the readiness index of the overall score. Linked to each of these 5 dimensions and 5 levels, there are concrete suggested actions, of course, with the aim to improve the readiness. Maybe, for instance, to improve the readiness in terms of the culture and climate, or to improve the readiness when it comes to the knowledge of alcohol and tobacco and drug prevention. So each and every municipality will be shown their scores on prevention and readiness, the overall score, but also for the different categories and dimensions. But they will also be giving their scores on a shorter selected number of approximately 15 key indicators. Here you see an example of 15 key items, key indicators. And if these key indicators are changing over time, also the prevention index and the readiness index will improve. And if the prevention index and if the readiness are improving, so also the prevention capacity and the prevention work in general. So now we turn to the PCA data collection. This is done by web-based online surveys. They should be filled in by persons with deep local knowledge of the alcohol, tobacco, and drug situation in terms of structures and activities. The answer on the prevention part of the survey should reflect the real local prevention situation. It is and should be seen as a municipality response, not as an individual attitude response. The readiness part, on the other hand, should actually reflect the respondents' attitudes or views on the readiness, because the perception of degree of readiness actually do differ between individuals. That is normally the case. So the questions on the readiness should be filled in by several persons. We cannot simply export the PCA questionnaire from one country to another or from one culture to another culture. There will always be a need of some degree of culture adaptation. And this has to be done in dialogue with a key representative for the municipalities, preferably someone from the main organization, from the Planet Use partner, in dialogue, in discussions with the Planet Use team. The basics of the questions will always be the same in all countries. The generics of the questions, the dimensions, the categories will be the same. But it doesn't make sense to have exactly the same questions in each country, because some of these questions asked in one country will be totally irrelevant in another country. The dialogue between the Planet Use partner and the ISTRA team, of course, it should be done in due time before the data collection starts. And since the assessment consists of two different parts, the prevention part and the readiness part, also the PCA questionnaires actually are two different web-based questionnaires, two different web links, one on the prevention part and the other on the readiness part. So, starting with the prevention questionnaire, the Planet Use partner selects the right person in each municipality or locality or community who should be the main survey coordinator. And the Planet Use partner delivers email addresses of those persons to the ISTRA Planet Use team. The survey coordinator in each locality, in each municipality, could fill in the prevention section of the questionnaire, him or herself, or for some sections, redirect the questionnaire to someone else with detailed knowledge, or ask someone else to assist in answering the questions. The most important thing is to remember that the response should be a municipality response, not an individual attitude response. And for the prevention questionnaire, there will only be one filled-in questionnaire, one for each municipality. And the filled-in questionnaire, when it is completed, should be submitted by the survey coordinator to the ISRA Planet Use. The Planet Use partner ensures that the questionnaire is completed in each participating municipality by the survey coordinator, him, herself, or with the assistance of others. And this should be within 14 days of delivery. 14 days of delivery. Now, the readiness questionnaire. The readiness questionnaire should also be filled in by the survey coordinator, but also by 3 to 4 other key stakeholders in each and every participating municipality. So why this? As I said previously, we want to capture a broader individual perspective on the readiness capacity, since it actually could vary a lot between different persons. So in contrast to the prevention questionnaire, where we want the municipality response, here we want the individual response. Again, the Planet Use partner selects the right persons in each municipality or locality who fill in the readiness questionnaire. Perhaps this selection could be done in dialogue with the main local survey coordinator, and the Planet Use partners then delivers all the email addresses of those local persons to the ISRA Planet Use. And these addresses should thus be 4 to 5 altogether, the survey coordinator and 3 to 4 other key stakeholders. Each of these survey respondents for the readiness will then receive a web link to the actual questionnaire. And the Planet Use partner again ensures that the questionnaire is completed by all respondents within 14 days of delivery. The filling in of the survey, especially the prevention questionnaire, could and maybe should take some time. It is thus not necessary to complete the entire survey at one and the same time. One could stop and continue later, for instance, the next day. And if a question is difficult to respond to directly, the respondent should really try to find it out by, for instance, asking others, or in some other way find the right answer. We don't want any questions to be left. There should be no blank answers at all, and this is very, very important. Then after 8 weeks after completion, when the data has been delivered to Iceland, to ISRA, the results will be ready and presented back to the municipalities. Everything will be accessible in a web platform. This is the main thing of the output, the presentation of the results. Everything will be on a web platform. Each municipality will be given a unique login into their page on this web platform. And on this page, each municipality will have access to, among other things, their scores on the 5 prevention categories, their scores or position on the 15 key indicators, and their scores on the 5 readiness dimensions. Other things available on the platform will be their prevention profile, including the weaker and stronger parts of the current prevention work. There will be some benchmarking available with comparisons with averages from other municipalities. There will be specific guidance and recommendations for future actions, and there will be available a report in the PDF format to be able to download. How to use the data after the data collection. We will come back to this later, in a later stage, but we want to stress that it could be used and should be used maybe in different ways. We should see it as a kind of multifunctional tool for prevention and monitoring. at baseline data collection and at follow-ups. One should see it as a proactive tool, perhaps in dialogue with the planet use experts, in order to strengthen the prevention work further, but of course also to be used to follow up your local prevention work over time, changes over time. And the municipality should be its own control over time. You don't need to compare that much with others, you could compare with yourself, how you are doing over time. That's it. Thank you very much.